Hey there. You want to hear some poems? I've got some good ones. Yeah? Sweet. Yes. All right. All right. Okay. So the first one is a request from a fan, Marley, who asked me to write about sharks and the Gulf of Mexico. I was only down that way once, like many years ago, and honestly, I'm not much of an ocean person, so I had to do a little bit of research for this one. I hope you like it, Marley. There's a place where the waves are best, you know, on the sun-soaked shores of the Gulf of Mexico, and if you go a bit further and you dive below, you better bring both eyes and supervise the show. There's about 1,000 shipwrecks to inspect, and more sharks in the dark than you can name, I bet, and the seashells sparkle orange, gray, and white, holding the colors of the day on through the night. We've been diving underneath for 500 trips around the sun, and we're still learning secrets. I don't think we'll ever be quite done. Marley, thanks for shouting out a suggestion. Everyone else tuning in, if you comment a topic or a subject or even just a silly word, I'll try to find a way to fit it into an upcoming poem collection. Don't be shy. It's a great way for me to get some practice. All right. Now, I know this is like the 4th poem video recently, so maybe this is a little late. But in case some of you don't know who I am yet, I have an introductory poem about me and what I like to do. It's called Friendly Yamen. Hi, I'm Yamen, and though I'm not a shaman, I do like to help you cook your noodle like ramen. Now, I'm not Mr. Spock, and I'm not hawking almonds. I'm not a doc. You can just call me Yamen, or dude, or buddy, pal, internet guy. It's too tricky to be picky, so I prefer not to try. I get by on smiles, so I don't like to ask why you've got one on when you decide to come by. For a while, I was a professional nerd. Breaking systems in a broken system is absurd, and the stress I got paid didn't feel deserved, so I flipped the script and I started writing words. I started clicking on scripts, and I started making some art. I started stitching them together, utilizing smart machines, producing something with heart to share with the world so I can do my part, to stand apart from the chaos and the noise, to remind the lost that they have a choice, to show the thoughtful how to have a voice, and how to notice beauty with rejoice. You can say I'm creative, but I'm less of an innovator, more like a teacher, immaculate mediator. I spend a lot of time learning. I'm a brain incubator, lessons laid to hatch for when I find out that you need it later. I'm good at putting words into clever positions to pass around knowledge. It's cultural transmission. And I'm always in the search of an audience to listen so I can wisen up the world because this is my mission. Classrooms and curriculum surely have their places, but I aim to explain in different spaces. Because people learn best at different paces, I look for the ones with questions in their faces. Curiosity is the key to open up my door. Question askers are the kind of mind I'm looking for. I'll invite you in and we can start to explore the nature of your thoughts and what's at the core. A big problem can be broken into manageable pieces. Working on those bits helps you decide the sequence, the path to progress, the solution to where the piece is, and I believe that you can do it because that is my central thesis. Truth be told, I think a truth you hold is a tool you use, not a secret code. And when truth is useful, it's as good as gold, but I don't have much use for a truth that folds in on itself with no illumination. I look for guidance towards my destination. I mix equal parts fact and imagination, because this seems to be the best configuration. You take something old, you make something new, you break something open and you create a new view. You shake up the systems, you see through the skew, and you keep pushing the envelope until you break through. Along the way, it's gonna get hard. Life likes to take a stand between you and the stars. When the hard nights come to strain your heart, you can let my words light the way through the dark. That brain that you have is complicated. It'll work for you if you learn to make it. Reality bends, don't ever mistake it. The future you desire is yours if you take it. Grab the one you want. Try to keep a grip. Don't ever give up just because you start to slip. Moving yourself is why you're taking the trip. Sometimes you get to run, sometimes you get flipped. And when you get to flipping out, give me a shout. I'll float on by and try my best to sort you out. We'll chat for a bit and we'll figure out about how you can keep on moving on to a better route. Don't doubt your potential because in the end, you're going to go far from where you begin. And while you do it, please know that you always have a friend to cheer you on. Sincerely, the Fractal Wizard, Yamen. So yeah, that's me. I'm an artist, I'm a writer, but the thing I like to do most is help in the ways that I know how to. While I'm at it, maybe I should tell you about my 3 superpowers. I've had 3 superpowers in my 30-something years, special quirks about me that weren't shared by my peers. When I was a little kid, it sounds goofy, I know, but when I wiggled my brain right, I swear, the wind would blow. I thought it was a fluke. I tried not to believe it, but every time I tested it, my friends could all perceive it. I'd test it on the stillest days when nothing cared to move, yet a breeze would shake some leaves, just enough to prove it. Now, wrestling trees are fun for show, but they don't have very many uses, so as I got older, I stopped having many excuses to show off this skill of mine, and I mostly forgot. Until a buddy in college said that he used to laugh a lot at a kid in his hometown who claimed to move the wind. Silently, I tried it for myself, and it's never worked again. Maybe I traded the wind for some fire inside, because it seems like me and cold just don't collide. Honestly, looking back, I don't quite remember. When I switched to wearing shorts from December to December, I've taken shirts off in the snow because I get too hot and I'll show skin to rain without a second thought. I was cool with this arrangement until quite recently when a change in medication and an improvement in the decency of the food that I ate left me shedding lots of weight. And while I am looking a bit better, it's not all great. Now my shorts don't fit. And here's a dirty trick. The cold can grab a hold now that I'm a little less thick. I went to pick some chicken from the grocery store freezer, and the coldest drumsticks in the place were below my knees. I mean, jeez, is this what you guys have all been complaining about? If the cold can sting like this, I'd rather do without. Too corny for you so far? All right, here's the real cheese. I don't lose sight of loving forests in the shadow of ugly trees. What I mean is that my heart doesn't know how to quit when the path takes a dip or a dive off a cliff. Unconditional compassion means there's nothing you can do that convinces me to reconsider caring about you. You can call it love, you can call it being friends, you don't have to call it anything, but it never really ends. Now, you might be wondering about this verse and its conclusion. So let me set the record straight so there is no confusion. There's no man, no clock, no God, no fate to be revealed that will sap me of this power because I simply refuse to yield. I practice my power constantly so it doesn't slip away, and you can snatch it from my smile on my burial day. That's all true. It's kind of crazy to think about how many different ways I've seen myself as I grow up. I hope I keep writing poems as I get older and exploring the other ways that I see myself. All right. This next one is a little bit different. It's about what it means to give your mind some space. I wrote it while I was working through some feelings of a very cluttered mind. I hope you like it. Wake up. Breathe in. Okay, day, let's begin. Before I decide what to get up to, I grab a screen to help me check the messages and news. Oh, right. The world is still a mess. From curious to furious before I got dressed. I keep telling myself I'll learn not to do that, but it doesn't look like this lifetime is when I'm going to prove that. Look up, breathe in. I don't have to do this again. It doesn't help to swallow all of this anxiety, and it hurts my gut to try to keep it all inside of me. So I make my resolutions, I envision my solutions, I do my daily ablutions, and I need no further prosecution, not from my own mind anyway. I have better ways to spend my time. I have better things to say. I can sit all day being angry at these jerks, or I can get to work. Sit up, breathe in. I spent most of this year making myself some space so that when I want to work, I have the place where it doesn't hurt to get in a groove, where I have the right tech and I have the right tools, so when the mood strikes, nothing gets in the way between me and the keyboard except for what I want to say. And today, that's a gap looking about a mile wide. I could work all day and not reach the other side. I could hurt all day and wind up still here, wasting another day, wallowing in the fear. I could tune it out, pretend everything is fine. I could try to pretend that I don't know they are dying. Stand up, breathe in. No, I can't. But I'm not helping many with another angry rant. A carefully written poem is better than a rushed post, and the algorithm is clear about which one does the most. I know if I march, I'll turn myself into a problem. I'm better at my screen where one by one I'll try to solve them. So I try to clear my head and put on my best face. Today, the lesson on my mind is space. Back up. Breathe in. Today, the lesson on my mind is space. Listen up and breathe in. This poem isn't a solo, it's a duet, a conversation between us that isn't finished yet, because I'm building space to show you why space is needed. And if you got this far, you might as well complete it. That's your part. I'm going to lead you to the spot, then I'm going to shut up so you can fill it with your thoughts. Don't worry about the style, don't worry about the flow. This part is for you and no one else has to know. We're putting brains together in the way that makes the magic happen. I'll be the navigator, but it's your turn to be the captain. Let's start a little easy. When you think of breezy summer winds and fields and happy vacation feels, where do you go in your mind? If you know, when was the last time? And while you're there, which way does the sun shine? And if you look a little closer, what kind of wildlife do you find? I hope you weren't shy. I hope you gave it a shot, because that's just a quick example of making space with your thoughts. That's a place you can go whenever you need to escape, but there's more that you can do if you have a little faith. Next, we'll put some space to use, but let's not be too messy. If you clutter up your happy space, you'll feel a little stressy. Instead, let's imagine a parking lot like the kind they have downtown, except this one starts out empty. There's no cars or folk around. What does it look like? How many stories are there? Are there like shady spots? All right, that's looking good. So here's a lifetime pass. You can park a car in here anytime you ask. But these aren't the kind of cars that get around by burning gas. These are the ones that run around burning on the emotions from your past. So send your view out, find a local highway, instruct an angry truck, conduct yourself my way. This one carries something that you're struggling to let go. I won't tell you what it is, but I think you already know. Say it to yourself so that you can be sure. Put a name tag for the one behind the wheel. When they drive close, you do need to be ready to feel. But if you can get them to park, you can begin to heal. So watch them close, make them take every turn. Don't get distracted by the pain as it burns. Guide the emotional load into your parking lot. Try to pull in, show it to a good spot. Now turn the engine off. Revel in the quiet. No fumes out the exhaust. I'm glad to hear you try it. Now, if you ever need this pain, it's sitting here waiting for you. But now it's not out making traffic even more frustrating for you. If you catch it starting up, feel the engine getting hot, drive it in a circle, then park it in a different spot. It only takes a minute, then you can get on with your day, and there's enough spots in this lot for all your pain to stay. Every time you catch one burning rubber around your brain, take the time to take the wheel and park it just the same. Now, imagine a busy street completely empty of cars. If you shouted a thought, would it go far? If you needed to walk, how far could you go? All right, now you have a bunch of blocks for new thoughts to go. We've only been chatting here for just a little time, but you've already built 3 spaces up in your mind. A vacation spot where you can go to relax, a parking lot for spots to park your panic attacks, and a brand new boulevard with plenty of space that you can fill with big thoughts at your own steady pace. The more you use the tools, the easier they get. So try to visit these spaces often, and don't forget that you can call them up and use them anywhere at any time. You are the grand conductor of your own beautiful mind. One last thing before we're done. I have one tiny final task. I want you to imagine that a bit more time has passed and you've maintained your spaces with some practice and some patience, and you've given order to your thoughts and found that it made sense. Now zoom the inner camera towards the older you. Listen as you thank yourself for the work you're yet to do. This can be your future if you take it one step at a time and build the kind of spaces that let you unfold your mind. Whew, that was a big one. If you played along with it, I'd love to hear how that went. Tell me about the spaces you imagined or the things you put in them, if you want. All right, we've done a couple heavy poems. Let's bring the mood up. I've been a gamer my whole life. I even worked in the game industry for about a decade. So this poem is just a fun tour of my gaming history. I learned to stack blocks and bust blocks for ghosts, and I could cruise USA from coast to coast. I don't want to boast, but I can make some toast with an incredible machine that does it better than most. Plumber brother got me going with the jump and run. It's unreal what I do with a plasma gun. X had a cannon that could change to be the right one, or there's a pink puff sucking power like a Dyson. Learned to strategize, learned how to plan ahead. In the age of empires, it's always alert red. Chills hearing nuclear launch detected. My missile command so they get deflected. Reflexively, I can flex these keys and land the lunar lander with a dexterous ease. I can dock at star stations and sign treaties between galactic empires and rebel species. I made coasters and cars, themed parks and mansions. I've played in a band and taken part in some dancing. I've saved the helpless, the city and the planet, then lost the save and got right back out at it. I've ground the levels and I've caught them all. I can rock the league with my monkey ball. I'll make a mess with a mech when the titans fall, and I'll smash through the melee in an ultimate brawl. I can rock a halo, but not above my head. I can lead a team to live when we're all left for dead. I can run the rooftops, dancing on the mirror's edge, and when I put you in the air, I'm hogging on the ledge. My raid group is Grandmaster. My speed runs are faster. I stutter step my tempo to interrupt your flow, cause I'm not a drooly newbie button masher. I'm not big on gore, but this killing floor has a bit of red and it could use some more, and I'm making mischief on my way to the top score. I'm taking your boat while you're stuck on the shore. I'll show up to blow it up, that's the plan of attack. Don't look confused with this fuse, just take a step back. Fire up a spin fuser, let's lay down the trap. Just get ready to move, cause we're going for the cap. Growing up, they told me I'm gonna rot my brain, but I sure learned a lot from these video games. So many digital lives, so many memories. We live in a wild time where we get to play that way. What's your favorite game right now? And what was your favorite game when you were a kid? I want to know. Tell me. When I worked in games, one of my specialties was testing network connections and interactions for games. So here's a poem about a gamer's nemesis, lag. We think of lag as a slowing in the data that is flowing down the wires with our desires while the ping is quickly growing, but as often as it's not, it's actually a loss, a signal tapered off and some data that missed the log, or a router lost power while trying to transmit. You're trying to submit, but the electrons called it quits. This happens all the time, more than you might suspect, but we ought to tip our hats to engineers with respect because every packet gone missing has another one behind it. If the client misses one, there's another to remind it, and another after that, and more ready in the queue. They keep firing the same message until it makes it through, and a signal bounces back confirming messages received. We got that chunk of data. We're ready to perceive. Humans are pretty clever upon closest inspection. We bend light talk over imperfect connections. I've always thought the internet was a pretty incredible bit of technology. I mean, I get to be alone in my studio and sharing all these poems with you. That's awesome. Sometimes it's not lag that slows you down in the game, though. Sometimes you're just waiting for the right time to make your move. Here's a little poem about that. At 8%, I'm looking for a spot to stand. At 17, I'm starting to act on my plan. At 32%, I'm hoofing it until I hit about 62%. Make a move with a dive at 75, then I take to the sky by 89. 94%, I'm taking aim, because at 100%, I'll end the game. Do you have a favorite, flashy finisher move, in a game that you play? Like something that takes a while to work up, but it really rocks the house when you use it? Tell me about it. I love those kind of moves. I also tend to do a lot of single-player gaming, too, because I like to just get lost in a virtual world with, nothing but my thoughts in a health bar. So here's an adventuring poem I wrote a while ago. I delved into a creepy cave, looking for enchanted loot, with my potions and my mace and freshly tailored mining suit. I had no trouble with the lurking spiders or the creeping slimes. The few who dared to challenge me were bashed into the grime. It wasn't till the 7th floor I began to hear the whispers, and saw the shadows twist at the tugs of phantasmal drifters. Time has bound these tortured souls to tedium and toil, as they wander aimless in the dark deep down below the soil. My presence here has spooked them, and they want to return the favor. My terror and my anguish are the flavors that they savor. But I came prepared tonight with a holy water tonic, and some earplugs made of dwarven wax to drown out all the sonic shrieking and the moaning, as I cast a scroll of holy light, but it sputters and corrupts. Wait, something isn't right. Maybe I misspoke a rune or skipped over a word, but it's hard to ascertain the arcane disaster that occurred. The spirits, flush with power, began to twist reality, building spaces and shining spires out of their insanity. I fell. I panicked and I scurried, lost down in the dark. I spent hours, maybe days, down there before I saw a spark of midnight stars up in the sky through an opening below. So I hopped down in and popped back up. How? I still don't know. But there I was, where I had started, the entrance to the cave. This time it was a bit different, no longer feeling very brave. I journeyed home and found my bed, finally, to get some rest, but the nightmares I have now make me wonder if I ever left. Not every adventure turns out pleasant, I suppose. Still, it's fun to get lost in the moment. When you're in the flow, time can kind of race by. So here's a poem about the speed of time. Sometimes forever comes and goes in a minute, hours passing quickly, full of seconds more infinite. Blinking marks the boundary between before and after, whether facing down disaster or barrels full of laughter. Intense instants interrupt internal clocks. Ticks without talks chalk it up to system shock. But it's never always. What I'm trying to say is that you'll find a way to the end of the day. Always and forever are best left to divinity. Don't get it wrong, chasing a long infinity. Sometimes you just gotta work through it, one foot than the other. You'll get somewhere eventually. Of course, when an adventure goes well, you wind up with loot. And what better place to take your loot than the Goblin Market? I went down to the Goblin Market a couple days ago. I traded stinky gourds, beaded cords, and ribbon bows for some tinkerers' new toys, trinkets, and machines. Some are simple spellwork, others are a bit more keen. This lock will only open if I'm in a happy mood. I use it to secure a stockpile of my favorite food, so that I don't waste it when I'm too down to taste it. Speaking of which, they just sold me this paste, which I rub on my tongue, then my fingers start to itch, but I can play a perfect melody and sing a perfect pitch for a bit, just a bit, don't want to overdo it. There was a time when any gob had a glob and I would chew it, but one time it left me shadowboxing with some dopey devils, and a swift sucker punch taught me to learn to keep the level. I hustled for a hexed out all yellow hula hoop, and it makes a funky jangle as you swish and swell and swoop around. I love the sound. It reminds me of summer fields, sitting under orange-red sunsets and other happy feels. A vendor with some splendor sent me smiling out the door with this little machine, but I don't know what it's for. It beeps every now and then. I think I ought to feed it, but if it came with a manual, I forgot to read it. This bauble that I bartered for bakes a single bean. It always turns out so tasty, and it's more useful than it seems. You'll never know when friendly fae will find favor to visit, but when you cook a bean for them, they'll find it quite exquisite. If you go searching for something, you won't find it anywhere at the Goblin Market. They sell only wonders there. That's a lot of fun to read. What would you try to find in a Goblin Market? All right. I know this has been a long one already, so I'll wrap it up with one last poem. This is about a girl that I long for almost every night. I'm friends with benefits with this girl named Slumber. When I want to sleep around, I just hit up her number like, hey, Dreamy, I miss you. Want to be my cuddle buddy? But lately she's been busy, so I've been feeling pretty cruddy. Like I'll just lie there still awake, body buzzing, full of tension, telling my brain to quit it like an inner intervention. But my mind takes its time, unwinding far too slowly. Every time I start to sleep, it finds something new to show me. Like I'm working through a checklist of the stresses that I keep, as if checking on each one is going to help me get to sleep. Eventually, the sleep dust piles up in my eyes, and she slips into my room just before the sunrise with a gentle, sorry, baby, I'm here now, let's get it done. And I take what I can until I'm awoken by the sun. If you're checking on my numbers, it might sound like mere minutes, but if it's only 60 times that, it isn't better, is it? Either way, it's not enough, so pretty soon I'm back awake. So slumber, baby, please tell me, what's it going to take to get a whole night with you? How's this for a tease? I want to pin you down and tuck you in and make some hard C's. That does sound nice, doesn't it? Well, whether you're off to bed or you've got a bunch of your day left ahead of you, I really, really appreciate you tuning in for some poems. Making these has been super helpful for me emotionally, and a few of you out there seem to dig the vibe. So thanks for that. And remember, keep the suggestions coming. All right.